Episode 83, back here in New York, where for one day only it felt like fall, or considering the volume of precipitation and rain that we got in the last 24 hours, maybe it felt more like April. I'm glad that for at least one day everyone was complaining about something besides our elected officials and focused not on a shitstorm, but actual storms. So here we go. Let's do these 4 Ps, episode 83. I've traveled a lot so far this year, both personally and professionally, perhaps more so than, in the last 15 years. And one thing I cannot let slide without digging deeper is the insane cost of airport food prices. Look, I understand the economics of supply and demand and operational recoup and even surge pricing. But $12.95 for an egg and cheese sandwich is absurd. $4.39 for a tiny bottle of Dasani water may be even more absurd. We are held captive and subject to whatever is beyond the security checkpoint. And if it's an airport, you can kind of plan ahead. But if not, it's just another roll of the dice. We know most airports license out the concession and retail sales to vendors, but many are owned and operated by consolidated companies. Yes, the people who operate Hudson News also manage the Wolfgang Puck Express. In many cases, 50% of airport revenues come from the non-aeronautical, the parking, concessions, even hotels within the airports. Now, a company called The Hustle looked into and noticed that concession vendors are charging 2 to 3 times street costs for food and snacks and drinks. But you need those things, especially water, which you have to throw out at security and then buy back immediately once you are inside these secure areas. So it's no surprise that across some 950 airport retailers that they looked at, beverages of different brands and sizes make up 8 of the top 10 items purchased at these places, including waters holding down the top 5 spots. So why are these costs so much higher? Rent, construction costs because there's so much turnover, the security and logistics, like counting plastic knives every 3 hours, and labor costs. Airport employees have much higher salaries than regular retail outlets. So while regular retail is down year over year, airport sales are actually up 7% over the past 2 years. Look, if you need water, there's not much you can do, and I'm someone who likes to have water on a plane. But here are some things you can do. 1, avoid restaurants by eating ahead of time. Bring your own gum, and instead of spending $9 on a king-size pack of peanut M&Ms, get it ahead of time at your local supermarket or pharmacy. Throw it in your carry-on before you leave for the airport and save some money. The hottest, most important trend in digital marketing, forget AI or voice or even DTC, OTT, ABC, BBD, the East Coast family. Forget TikTok, Snapchat, even though their earnings were pretty impressive yesterday. And you can certainly put your finger in your ears and blather like a child whenever someone brings up influencer marketing. There is a time and place for all of those things, but the return to focus and prominence of O&O, editorial-owned content, is driving conversion and commerce and e-commerce like nothing else in this moment. That's right, good old-fashioned O&O. Optimizing site content isn't exactly the same as it used to be, however, and expertise is required to drive better value and efficiency. The easiest win, starting or restarting a blog or ongoing content for your site. That could be long-form articles, image-heavy, video-laden. It doesn't matter. But if you want people to discover and come to your website, here are some high-level tips that can help you come up with a proper plan. Number 1, create an editorial calendar, just like the olden days. This is no different than it was 10 years ago. Having an editorial calendar is key for managing content and keeping your team, your content plan on track. Brainstorm what you want this to include, whether it's one writer or a team, it doesn't necessarily matter, but do this kind of each month. The goal is to bring new ideas to the table and ensure that content will be finished, maybe even a few days before publishing dates, so you can optimize it. Number 2, Determine your volume and frequency, which will obviously depend on your bandwidth and overall strategy. Whatever you do, make sure your audience at least knows how often you're going to post and stick to that plan. Number 3, mix things up. Keyword cannibalization is real, which means you need to avoid blog posts or articles on your site that can rank for the same search terms in Google, and vary your subjects as much as possible. Use news and current topics, maybe not politics per se, but news and current events are great for content development. They should be relevant to your expertise as a company, either in services or products or cultures. That was 4. Number 5, and last, create a style guide. Take a few minutes and develop a look and feel that ensures that your team is consistent, that from a content perspective, you're on the same page when it comes to brand voice and post length and image use. Make sure everyone on your team also has access to it and understands each element, builds out that consistent look, feel, graphics, colors, templates, etc. Okay, now really last, hire real content creators to create this stuff, or hire us. Now, in this week's Political P, I am taking a deeper dive and breaking down the 2020 election. I am ignoring all of the Robert Mueller testimony because, frankly, I don't think it's going to solve anything. The only thing that will is this election. And I'm terrified. What I've been able to decipher is that there are really now only 4 states that matter in 2020. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Now, if the Democratic candidate can win 3 of those 4 states, Trump is a one-term president. Florida will be the hardest and probably will not flip. But the other 3 should theoretically be in blue. Based on 2018, Michigan and Pennsylvania are probably, barring any external interference, could be blue. The people you really have to motivate here aren't the Democratic base, though. They're the people that live in these states and who are in the middle, the independents, who have been unsettled by Trump's presidency. They can see what Trump is and will happily vote for a reasonable alternative. But if Democrats offer what appears to them as a choice between beheading and a firing squad, many will stay at home and just not vote at all, and this would be bad. Progressives keep trying to convince themselves that people are sick and tired of what's going on in this country, and they're half right. Americans are tired. They're tired also, though, of endless rancor, the name-calling, and the lies, and everybody claiming victory every time there's an argument. They're tired of the insanity of the last few years and the unprecedented attacks on American institutions. We don't want to burn down the system. We want to put the fire out. And at the end of the day, or at the end of this process, Democrats have one job in 2020. That is beating Donald Trump, and nothing else matters. So if progressives manage to mess this up by insisting on hard left positions and ideological purity, then the one state that is probably and truly going to decide it all, Wisconsin, will be responsible for a Trump second term. There is a time and a place for everything. And when the ship is sinking and you find yourself in a lifeboat, you don't argue about where you want to go next. You head for the nearest land. And only then do you figure out how to get home and wherever safety and civilization might actually be. This week's P, something personal, is also a matter of pride. Last summer, went fishing with a bunch of local friends in the Long Island Sound and was the only person to not catch a single fish. This year, in year 2 of our expedition and excursion, I am proud to share that I brought in some fluke, not a fluke, and some porgies, not to be confused with pierogies, which would have been delicious.